War isn't always fought on battlefields. Sometimes it's fought in the shadows, between nations, between ideologies, and sometimes between a mentor and her disciple. In 2004, Hideo Kojima and Konami stripped away the futuristic tech and nanomachines and brought Metal Gear back to where it all began, 1964, the height of the Cold War, and a jungle crawling with creatures and danger. It's a dramatized reflection of real history. Beneath the stealth gameplay is a story shaped by Cold War espionage, the space race, and the birth of Special Forces doctrine. This was a time when victory wasn't measured in land gained, but in information stolen. When scientists were kidnapped, soldiers were disavowed, and peace was maintained not by treaties, but by unspoken, mutually assured destruction. With Metal Gear Solid Delta's immediate arrival, now is the perfect time to look back, not just at the story of Big Boss, but at the real Cold War legacy hiding behind the codec calls and camo paint. This is history through the lens of Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater. MGS3 opens with a halo jump. High altitude, low opening. Snake dives alone into enemy territory, silent and invisible. No army with him, no air support, no witnesses. Compare that to World War II's D-Day invasion. Thousands of planes, thousands of parachutes storming beaches in broad daylight. Now, one man is enough. Because in a post-World War II world, discretion and specialization have replaced scale. Snake is the embodiment of a shift in military doctrine. In the post-World War II era, the US and USSR began focusing on surgical units, elite, highly trained operatives capable of sabotage, recon, and assassination behind enemy lines. A move away from large-scale war to more clandestine operations that avoid international scrutiny. The US Army Special Forces, known as the Green Berets, were founded in 1952. Colonel Aaron Bank, who is considered by some as the father of the Green Berets, advocated for the permanent formation of a Special Forces unit based on his experiences from World War II, where he served behind enemy lines. He said, "World War II showed us the need for soldiers trained to think and act independently, far from command structures." Fittingly, Naked Snake has the same line of thinking and also comes from a Green Beret background.
I've been in the Green Berets for the past few years. I'm probably pretty rusty.
The CIA often recruits from the Green Berets for special assignments, and speaking of the CIA, it itself was formed out of the earlier OSS, a World War II era intelligence agency. Britain had the SAS, Special Air Service, founded in 1941 out of necessity, but it was also reconfigured into a proper and permanent corps in 1950. It is from there that our Major Zero comes from.
She also helped me plan this mission. She and I were at SAS together.
David Sterling, who founded the SAS, said, "We are not interested in fairness. We are interested in effectiveness." And that short phrase embodies what special forces are all about. The Soviets had the Spetsnaz GRU, formed in 1949 as the first special forces of its kind, and they served under the Main Intelligence Directorate. In-game, they are represented by Major Ocelot and his unit, who are separate from the KGB and separate from the regular Red Army. They perform sabotage, special reconnaissance, and even assassinations, which is why Volgin has them working in his inner circle. The boss is called the mother of all special forces. Her influence, her training, her legacy, these mirror the real-world establishment of elite soldier doctrine. Even the elite Cobra unit that she founded herself are said to have been at the beaches of Normandy and responsible for ending World War II. Closing this section, General Stanley McChrystal, former commander of U.S. Special Operations, once said, "Special operations were once a sideshow. Now, they're at the center of military strategy." Snake's mission is what intelligence agencies call deniable. If he's caught, America disavows him. What is his mission? To infiltrate Soviet territory, recover a defecting scientist, destroy the Shagohod, and eliminate Volgin as a favor to Khrushchev. But nothing is as it seems. The boss, his mentor, seemingly defects. Volgin wants to launch a coup against Khrushchev, Even Ava and Ocelot are playing double and triple agents, respectively. It's espionage wrapped in espionage. Coups and CIA intervention like Operation Snake Eater are rooted in reality. The early 1960s saw CIA-backed coups, like in Guatemala, where the CIA overthrew the government to create more favorable terms and deals for the US fruit company Chiquita. Or like in Iran, where the CIA executed Operation Ajax to get rid of Prime Minister Mossadegh and reinstall Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who heavily favored the West and our economic interest in oil. Defecting and double agents are similarly rooted in truth. Much like Ocelot himself, Oleg Penkovsky was a GRU operative who spied for the CIA and shared vital information about the Soviet Union's rocket capabilities and their greatly exaggerated arsenal of ICBMs. It is with that knowledge that Kennedy was able to successfully negotiate with Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Viktor Suvorov, another GRU officer who defected to the UK, later said in one of his books, quote, "Historians will remember with gratitude the name of the GRU Colonel Oleg Penkovsky. Thanks to his priceless information, the Cuban crisis was not transformed into a last world war." But this is Cold War storytelling. On the other hand, there was Robert Hansen, an FBI agent who spied for the Soviets and Russians during and after the Cold War. He approached the GRU in 1979 and told them secrets about US weapons technologies and info on compromised KGB agents. He did this on and off until 2001 when he was found out and made a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. There were even missions so secret even the presidents who authorized them weren't fully informed, like the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, mentioned in-game more than once.
In 1961, I was sent to Cuba, to Bahia de Cochinos. It was part of a CIA-sponsored invasion under the guise of taking Cuban exiles back to their country.
President Kennedy didn't know many of the details, partially because the plan was drafted under his predecessor, Eisenhower, but executed very early into his term. Kennedy even said about the CIA afterwards, "They were too smart to tell me the truth." Metal Gear Solid 3 brilliantly captures the fragility of Cold War state security, where deception reigns and trust is a liability. Ava fools the CIA, KGB, and the player alike under the guise of a Chinese spy. Ocelot juggles loyalties between the GRU, CIA, and the Patriots while shaping the future in secret. And the boss, history's most tragic soldier, sacrifices everything to preserve the illusion of stability. Their ability to play such roles to perfection shows us just how loyalty should never be taken for granted, especially at the highest levels of government. After World War II, the great superpowers didn't just divide up territory, they divided up the great scientific minds of those times. The United States and Soviet Union both launched secret operations to extract, smuggle, or coerce top Nazi scientists into their own military-industrial complexes. The most infamous of these efforts was Operation Paperclip, where the US recruited over 1,600 German scientists, many of them former Nazis, to advance American rocketry, propulsion, and eventually spaceflight. Among them was Werner von Braun, who went from building V-2 rockets for Hitler to putting man on the moon. That context is baked into Metal Gear Solid 3. The entire mission begins with Snake tasked to extract a man, Dr. Nikolai Sokolov. He's not a general or a politician. He's a Soviet engineer developing the Shagohod, a mobile nuclear missile launcher. The fact that Sokolov is treated as more dangerous than a warhead says everything about how the Cold War really worked. We even hear in-game that Sokolov was so important to the Soviet Union that his return from the West was the only thing that would make them back down from delivering the nuclear missiles to Cuba.
So what did the Russians really want?
Sokolov. They wanted us to return Sokolov.
You mean the Soviets pulled out of Cuba just to get their hands on Sokolov?
That's right.
What the hell was he working on?
Snake Eater uses this scientific tension to frame its characters. Two of the most haunting examples are the Fury and the Boss, both of whom participated in early space exploration. The Fury, a former Soviet cosmonaut, has returned from orbit disfigured and deranged. He speaks of space not as a triumph, but as a curse, how the fire of re-entry changed him. He now wears a flamethrower like a second skin. Then there's the boss. She helped launch the United States' first astronauts, yet speaks of it with a sad clarity. She reflects on seeing the Earth from above.
I could see the planet as it appeared from space. That's when it finally hit me. Space exploration is nothing but another game in the power struggle between the US and the USSR. Politics, economics, the arms race, they're all just arenas for meaningless competition.
But her reward for helping America with the space race? Betrayal, isolation, and being sent to die in secret. While Sputnik and Apollo may have captured the headlines, the space race wasn't just a race upward, it was a race to militarize the sky, to launch faster, spy better, and strike without warning. And much like Sokolov, the boss and the Fury are reminders that the greatest scientific leaps of the 20th century were powered by fear and rivalry. Metal Gear Solid 3 is a story of sacrifice, of forgotten heroes, of soldiers used by nations, then buried by them. The boss gives her life to preserve peace, but she's remembered as a traitor. Snake completes his mission, but he's emotionally broken. And behind it all is a political agenda of the higher-ups, on both sides, that rewrite history to suit their needs. It's fitting then that the game ends not with victory, but with a somber salute to someone erased from the record. Metal Gear Solid 3 is historical fiction, but it's also historical reflection. It exaggerates and dramatizes the truth behind the headlines, the secret missions, the discarded scientists, the birth of Black Ops, and the nuclear fear that shaped our world. But it does it in a way that no other game series quite can. MGS3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's definitely my favorite entry in the series. I had a blast making this video, and if you have made it this far, I thank you and I hope you've enjoyed it. And if nothing else, you'll have some more context for the history that the game pulls from. I'm Andrew, and this has been History Through the Lens of Metal Gear Solid 3. What a thrill. Please like and subscribe for future videos in this series, and I'll see you in the next video.